We need to put black vagina on a date with white penis. That's what seems to me to be the solution. Because look, I will tell you now, if you're a black girl, if you want to be appreciated for your femininity, if you want to get a white guy, and if you want to kind of escape the, let's say, the ghetto background that is so often associated with the black community, if you want to do that, you can really do that. You can completely get inside a man's pocket very, very easily, appeal to his masculine nature, have a go at the feminazis, say bad things about them, appeal to white men, say they've been kicked in the nuts by these ungrateful white women brats, and appeal to a man's sense of masculinity, make him feel like a man, play into the feminine role, allow a man to be a man.
Initial impressions of black women would be they're not the most feminine or delicate of the women's on this planet.
Welcome to my channel. This is Divested Diamonds. You have arrived. Hello, ladies. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you. Thank you kindly. Today's discussion is about self-reflection, self-awareness, self-love, and interracial dating. We're going to talk about a specific type of man to avoid and what to look out for when vetting men of other races. So it doesn't matter where you go in this internet space, there's never a shortage of emotionally charged conversations about black women. It could be anything from our outward appearance to questioning our worthiness as human beings. One of my pet peeves as a person is rude, ignorant, and disrespectful people. I can't stand those types. I believe that if you're going to take the time to talk about something, the least you could do is a little research to familiarize yourself with the subject matter. Before I get into the main event, let me just say this to black women. Obviously, I'm not addressing all, so please take it as it resonates. It's not a secret that most of us, as black women, have been put through the ringer. Most of our self-esteem is either on the mend, down the dumps, or brutally destroyed. However, it is salvageable for a lot of us, and there's hope for those of us who want to do better. As we slowly heal from past trauma and start to love ourselves, that in itself comes with some level of confidence. Part of loving yourself and knowing who you are is understanding boundaries and being able to call out degrading language from those who think very little of you. Disrespect for black women, especially, comes from many different angles. From that toxic app called TikTok, all the way through these internet streets, as well as the platform we're on today. Talking disparagingly about black women is also very big business. People have gotten rich off of disrespecting us and further profiting off of our trauma. I want black women to understand that we have the right to protect ourselves and our image when confronted with disrespect in this demeaning environment where people think abuse is something that we should be tolerating simply because they view us as anything other than feminine. The following video is a few years old, but very relevant in today's climate because there are certain things in life that remain the same. Disrespect for black women being one of them. As black women continue to recognize their worth and calling out the abuses of black men, the fight still continues. All other races of people must be called out as well, including those we choose to date or marry. We must continue calling out those who keep pushing stereotypes while not understanding our culture, but still feel the need to speak on our issues with high levels of bigotry and disrespect. I personally don't have any respect for any man of any race who feels the need to insert himself in Black women's issues just to engage in harmful conversations for clout, likes, and other personal gain. If you have nothing positive to offer, stay where you are and shut the fuck up. Without further ado, let's get started.
Now, I got asked recently by a black girl what it is that she can do in order to attract a white man. And I didn't have any particularly good answers for that, principally because in my experience in the UK, when I've dated black girls, it has always been them who have been resistant to my advances.
Okay, so in other words, he's had very little experience with Black women in the UK, and they have resisted his advances, right? Fair enough. My question here is, why are Black women, or girls as he says, asking white men, or rather, this particular white man, what it is that they need to do in order to attract them? This is the low level of self-esteem and lack of self-awareness that I'm talking about. We as women must never normalize this behavior of asking men how many hoops we need to jump through in order to attract them. It's problematic. It's self-deprecating, and it shows Black women in a desperate light. It also comes off as though wanting to date white men is solely based on skin color and nothing more. Now, whether or not this happened, we have no way of confirming that, but we'll take his word for it since he went out of his way to talk about it. If you're one of these women asking men of other races especially what you need to do in order to be attractive to them, please stop. You're embarrassing yourself. It's simply not a good look. Let's continue.
Now, in recent times, I've come to see there are a lot of black women out there who do seem to fancy white men and who do seem to want to rack up with a white man. I mean, I should point out, I think there's perhaps, when I suggested that black women are cold, maybe that is because my experience of black women has only been with those in the UK.
So we can already tell at this point that he's been rejected. Using a blanket statement such as cold in reference to a group of people isn't exactly accurate in the grand scheme of things. So because his experience in wanting to date Black women was not what he thought it would be, he labeled a whole race of women cold. It doesn't surprise me, but let's continue.
Maybe American black women are a bit warmer, especially the ones out there on the internet who are a bit intelligent and they kind of, they're part of this black women go their own way movement, and they're looking for something more. So perhaps that type of black girl from America and with this kind of intellectual ideology is going to warm more to me than with those black girls who I've met in the UK.
Wow. So in this man's mind, Black British women who've rejected him are less intelligent than those in the US that he perceives warmer under the assumption that they would give him a chance? All I'm getting from this is I failed back at home. I don't understand why, but let me elevate this other group in the US. Perhaps they'll give me the time of day. Downing one group over another in the hopes of being picked is disrespectful. Let's continue.
But what I wanted to say on this is that actually, I think there's a very obvious solution to this whole problem, and I will come to that in a second. Now, first of all, let's just run through 5 reasons why it seems to be difficult for black women to attract white men. The first is that black women come across as being masculine. Now, it's debatable whether this is down to genetics or whether it's just down to conditioning and environment, but this is the nature of reality, and this can often put white men off. The second thing is that because black women have this quality of curvaceous femininity, this is also quite intimidating for men and can also be a put off.
Wow. Like I said, the disrespect is at an all-time high. This guy seems to have that toxic, red pill manosphere mindset with a hint of incel. He's basically walking in the footsteps of every single black man who's been on the internet regurgitating this shit for years. So black women come across as being masculine, and his pea brain thinks it's debatable whether it's down to genetics or conditioning and environment. My question is, who is debating this? Do they have organizations in the UK that debate this? Are they doing studies on the genetics and behavior of black women? Who the fuck is debating this? The second issue for him is that black women have this quality of quote unquote curvaceous femininity. So which is it, sir? Are black women masculine or feminine? You can't insinuate that they are stereotypically manly and then in the same breath be afraid of their feminine curves. Look, I know that sometimes when a woman is incredibly curvaceous, it doesn't really compliment a small penis. Would that be the case? If you consider yourself such a catch, with all things in place and normal, why would you worry so much about a woman's curves? Are you intimidated because of your micro penis? Or is it because you're still a virgin and don't know what to do with a woman? I mean, no disrespect to anyone who's a virgin. I think it's a beautiful thing. However, all I'm hearing here is, help, what do I do with a naked woman's body? You can't make this shit up, because people like him love spreading this kind of stupidity for clout. It's giving incel with five-finger girlfriend. It's giving, I can't get it up with a real woman because I'm addicted to porn. I'm just saying. Let's continue.
The third thing is that because the media will tell women that the ideal is a white woman or indeed a mixed race woman, black women have in some instances low self-esteem, and therefore when it comes to the dating game they give off bad signals, which means they appear maybe less sexier than they are. The fourth thing is that because of the historical connotations of slavery, it is quite difficult for a black woman to put herself in the position of being submissive to a white male. And in the fifth place, even if she personally doesn't have a problem with that, there will be some black men out there who will hound her and criticize her for this kind of behavior and indeed dub her a bed wench.
Again, preaching about the obvious. Everyone knows that the white woman has been the standard of beauty for hundreds of years. Yes, they do have a certain privilege for that, but that's also because they've been heavily promoted by their own men. It would have been better and possibly helped his argument if he could explain where the low self-esteem in beauty standards comes from among black women. It's a lot more than just thinking that you're unattractive. It's the treatment from everyone else in the so-called community, as well as other communities when it comes to certain skin tones, especially. Colorism is rampant, and it's something that's talked about constantly within Black YouTube. Colorism is the bastard child of racism, And if you're going to dip your toes into this subject matter, please talk about the brown paper bag test and who started it. You see, this is the level of willful ignorance that I'm talking about, and why Black women need to be careful and cognizant of who it is that they allow in their personal space. Someone like this will only date a Black woman because he is unappealing to his own people. The rejection is what sends him running in the opposite direction. The problem is, because his purpose for dating out isn't genuine, it's only a matter of time before the bigotry seeps through. I would never advise any Black woman to give someone like him the time of day, because he's the type to call you the N-word and then tell you that men who look like you do it all the time in their songs, so why would he not be allowed to say it? I have come across a few guys with that mindset, and it's mind-boggling how people like him expect to be laid at all. Absolute bollocks. Like I said, he's been tuning into the manosphere. That is why he's parroting a lot of their talking points. Again, why would a Black woman who's in a relationship with a white man, a man who's treating her right, not be submissive? This has nothing to do with skin color or slavery. Women are usually submissive in relationships where their needs are being met. And it's much easier to take on that position when you feel safe. Submission cannot be demanded, nor is it owed to any man. You have broken men, derelicts, incels demanding a woman be submissive when they have absolutely nothing to offer. This whole submission issue is mostly talked about by men who don't even make the cut. These are males who are looking for a traditional wife in a modern day environment where everything is split in half. A lot of these males are delusional. And yes, I do agree that if you as a Black woman get involved with a white man, a lot of Black men will call you a bedwench. They've been calling us bedwenches for years. Not that we care. If you're so pressed about who we date or marry, that sounds like a you problem, and you need to deal with it.
So those are the problems, but it seems to me there is actually a very, very simple solution to this, because what these Black women seem to want, first of all, they seem to want a white guy. Second of all, they seem to want to move up in the world and to have a bit of social mobility, to have, for example, some of the nice trappings of wealth and security that they may not have known in their upbringing. And at the same time, they want to be recognized as feminine. They want to be appreciated by a man for their feminine skills and their femininity. This is what they want. This is what they desire.
Every Black woman whose options are open to dating men of other races isn't always interested in white men. White men are a part of the dating pool, but not the only men in the dating pool. Black women have different preferences too. Some Black women prefer Asian men. Some prefer Latino men. Others prefer Pacific Islanders, etc. And I know that these groups of people come in different shades and different skin tones, but that's neither here nor there. The bottom line is, the dating pool isn't only filled with white men. So again, he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. He is arrogant and appears to be suffering from a superiority complex. Furthermore, most Black women are educated and great earners. Most date or marry not for the sole purpose of elevating or looking for someone to just take care of them. We can do that all by ourselves. However, hypergamy is something natural for all women. Some choose to exercise it and some don't. And for those who choose to elevate their status through marriage, my thing is, so what? And why not? Only broke, inadequate men have a real issue with this. This is so typical of incel manosphere talking points. Let's continue.
But guess what? Go to the average white man these days, and he is fucking fed up to his back teeth with the feminazis. Because these women, who are in lots of cases white, are utterly spoilt. They are completely high maintenance, and they are whiners of the highest order with a complete and total princess complex. And these women will bash a man and hit him over the head. They will not allow him to be masculine.
Well, it behooves every woman who chooses to be in a relationship with a man to make sure that she gets the right one. Preferably someone who's not mentally castrated and thinks like an unattractive teenage boy who suffers from constant rejection. If you've ever wondered what bitter looks like on a male, Exhibit A. He's had enough because nobody wants him. Who wants an average-looking guy with an overinflated sense of self-worth? He believes he's more than he is, and he thinks that he deserves a top-tier woman. And I don't mean to be funny, but what does he do for a living? What's his tax bracket? The UK is really not known for its high salaries, so he probably lives from paycheck to paycheck. And if you were going to be in a relationship with him, he would probably demand that you do 50-50. And I know for a fact that most British women wouldn't mind that. Most of them live that way anyway. I just think that he's a socially awkward individual who doesn't know what to do with a woman. Any woman, including those his own race. That is why he's coming across as hateful and referring to women his own race as feminazis and entitled princesses. This is a guy who's been rejected more times than he can count. And the only thing that he has to offer is extreme bitterness. He looks hurt because he realizes that there's a huge chance that he will die alone. And I'll bet that if he had pets, they would probably run away from him too. His personality is that of a wet sponge, and he is not likable. He's bothered by that. But rather than fix whatever is broken, he blames women for his shortcomings. He's giving loser vibes. Let's continue.
And they will not allow him to fulfill this masculine role with themselves in the feminine position.
If you have to get permission in order to exercise your masculinity, you probably didn't have any to begin with. You're a beta.
And so it seems to me that we have a case here of supply and demand. And as a great entrepreneur once said, the whole way to be a successful entrepreneur is to put supply on a blind date with demand. If you can do that, things will work out. And it seems in this case, we need to put black vagina on a date with white penis. That's what seems to me to be the solution.
Well, that's classy. And there it is. Do you see why those black women chose not to entertain this fool? He's the type to take you out on a date and expect sex at the end of it. He's the type to take you to a place like Wagamama's, for instance, right? And expect gymnastics and fireworks in bed. It would probably be the worst 3 minutes you'd ever spent with any man. Let's continue.
Look, I will tell you now, if you're a black girl, if you want to be appreciated for your femininity, if you want to get a white guy, and if you want to kind of escape the, let's say, the ghetto background that is so often associated with the black community, if you want to do that, you can really do that. You can completely get inside a man's pocket very, very easily, appeal to his masculine nature, have a go at the feminazis, say bad things about them, appeal to white men, say they've been kicked in the nuts by these ungrateful white women brats, and appeal to a man's sense of masculinity, make him feel like a man, play into the feminine role, allow a man to be a man.
Wow. He said it all. I'm shocked that he didn't use the N-word. So let me get this straight. You want a black woman to do your bidding, go against other women because your balls are too shriveled to stand up for yourself as a man? So he wants you as a black woman to be feminine, yet fight like a Wakanda warrior to save his weak ass from white women? What is the difference between this guy, Tyrone, Pookie, Ray Ray, and Quantavious? I'll tell you, nothing. He's no different from these black men who hide behind the protection of black women, using black women as shields because they are not man enough to do anything for themselves. If you have to be, quote unquote, allowed to be a man by a woman, you were never one to begin with. This is exactly the kind of male who begs for submission but never gets it because his mangina is constantly bleeding. He needs tampons. And I do believe that currently they are free in Scotland. So go get you some. He need not be in a relationship. This would be painful for any woman. Let's continue.
Now, I can't speak for all white guys out there, and some of them are complete bastards, I'm sure, but there are a hell of a lot of white guys out there now who feel totally disenfranchised by feminism. And all they want is the chance to be a man. They really, literally, what they want is for a woman to respect him and to love him. But in return, she will get all this protection. She will get security. And men often want to be the breadwinner. They want to face the challenges of life, and they can do all this provided they have behind them a woman who loves them, a woman who respects them, a woman who is, willing to get into bed with them and go on a journey with them in life. And so what I'm saying is that if you are a black woman and you want a white guy and you want to be appreciated for your feminine qualities, there is an obvious opportunity for you out there. You can really make yourself popular with white men at this time in this current climate, because white men are so sick of the bloody feminazis who are white women in general.
Why does this sound like a job interview? Sounds like some kind of audition. Is this for a play in the West End? If you want my peen, please help me become a man. Dude, if you haven't figured that out, no woman will ever help you do that. Men like him who view black women as masculine see you the exact same way that the so-called community does. He wants you to mule for him because he doesn't see you as soft or feminine. A grown-ass man with no courage to be what he's meant to be. A man. Look, he might have the physical appearance of a man, but he's nothing but a man-child, a boy who can't get over rejection. In a few years' time, Comb-Over Bob will have no hair, and that will further increase his insecurities and lower his self-esteem. Imagine the venom he'll be spewing then. Tick, tock, tick, tock. Fill in the blanks.
There is a complete market there for you, and all you have to do to get into one of these situations is, in some ways, just be submissive to a man, not in any kind of bad Islamic way.
Not in a bad Islamic way? Wow.
But just appeal to a man's masculine qualities. Make him a breadwinner. Show that you want to set up home with him. Show that you want to back him. Show that you admire him. Show that you respect him. If you give a man a little bit of that, which he's not getting from these fucking feminazis, if you give a man a little bit of that, he will fall in love with you. He will absolutely, he will go out into the world and he will want to fight for you. He will want to face the challenges in life so that he can come back home to you at night and know that he has served you and protected you.
Sounds like a lot of work. You can tell that he has no clue what the hell he's talking about. Relationships are meant to have a natural progression. Respect is earned, not demanded. Relationships are not a dictatorship. Women generally have no respect for weak, whiny men. There's nothing less attractive than a male who has more complaints than somebody's grandmother. It's not attractive at all. No woman wants an ignorant, bigoted crybaby who thinks that the world owes him something. Get over yourself. Let's continue.
And like I say, this is why I think black women have a quality which white women don't have, because white women, more or less, I don't want to get too stereotypical here, but they are very spoilt and they have this princess complex. And in relation to them, black women have an advantage. Black women, if you're socially aspiring, there is a position for you because you will be less fussy and more satisfied with what a man can offer you, even if it's just, a little bit of an improvement. Whereas some of these white feminazis, they're never going to be satisfied. And that does not appeal to men. And so what I'm saying is there is an absolute, if black women are wanting to get into white guys, there is a complete market opportunity for you here. There really is, because of the feminazis. And if you put yourself in this role of being feminine and being submissive and backing white guys who are getting all this shit from the feminazis, you will get into their hearts. They will learn to love you. They will learn to realize that you can provide them with everything they can't get from the feminazis. And at the same time that you do all this, black women, you can stick two fingers up to white girls.
And this, unfortunately, is where the dangers of putting our business on the internet comes into play. The fact that we, as black women, have had no choice but to air out our dirty laundry on Front Street means there are a lot of predators lurking in the shadows. With a lot of people knowing how we've been treated by black men, there are men of other races who feel that we should be thankful for the attention we get and accept breadcrumbs from them. Because in their warped logic, it's better than what we've been accustomed to. Some of these males think that the color of their skin should be enough to carry them through any relationship with a black woman. They don't think that you deserve the treatment afforded to white women because you're used to getting scraps and you need to be grateful for the little they give. This is why, when he couldn't get his way with his own race of women, he looked at pursuing black women only as an afterthought. He is the weakest link in his own race, but strongly believes that the only relationship that can elevate his dereliction is one with a black woman. This is why I urge all black women who engage in interracial dating to be mindful of males like him. If he's not worth a white woman's time, he shouldn't be worth yours either. And I know that women aren't a monolith. Therefore, we look for different qualities in partners. But men like him don't deserve to be in a relationship with a real woman. He lacks the emotional intelligence to navigate his way through a proper relationship. Please, ladies, leave these types alone. They belong in the trash. Let's continue.
Now, another black girl asked me how it's possible to appear less masculine and more feminine when around white men. My advice to you is to basically find yourself a gay best friend, okay? Find yourself a gay best friend, hang around with him for a few hours, and get to know all the kind of gay mannerisms and all this kind of shit. And what I'm saying is, if you spend time with him, all that will rub off on you, and you will appear, you will appear more effeminate. as a consequence.
You can't make this shit up. Who are these women seeking dating advice from an incel? He is the last person to be given relationship advice to anyone. He can't even get a woman. The fact that these alleged women are even talking to him at all is enough to stroke his ego. Telling a black woman to seek femininity from gay men is outrageous. Black women are female. No male could ever teach a female about femininity. XX is the blueprint, the original, the giver of life. A male with XY chromosomes swinging his hips from side to side cannot, and I repeat, cannot teach an XX anything about femininity. It's an absolute insult to suggest otherwise. But you know, the disrespect of black women continues. A lot of gay men think this way too. They think that they can be better women than women themselves. And that is also why the debate on what a woman is up for discussion these days. It's ridiculous. But let's continue.
And like I say, I think a great way to advertise yourself as a black woman looking for a white man is to have a go at the fucking feminazis. Men will love you. If you mouth off at the feminazis and you tell them, you call them out on their bullshit, this is incredibly attractive. Men get erections when they see women spouting off on YouTube about how bloody horrible the feminists are. This is a very attractive quality. So it's also a very feminine quality as well, actually. So if I was a black girl, I would go for the feminazis. I would have an attack on them. And this is a great way to appeal to men and to show that you are very feminine, because women fighting with each other is a very kind of feminine quality. And I think the ideal black woman that white men will fall in love with is a black woman who is constantly mouthing off about the feminazis and how bad they are and how they should treat white men with respect, and who constantly goes on and on and on about this, except in the case that her mouth is full of this lovely white cock.
Advertise yourself? Is this an escort service? Prostitution, perhaps? What the fuck is Comb Over Bob talking about? Well, like I said, there's a lot of money in disrespecting black women. There's a very good reason that no one wanted to date this guy. He has a better chance of actually living in his truth and being pegged until his ass is raw. I doubt very much that someone like that genuinely wants women. He probably finds it more pleasurable talking with other men on what he wishes he would do to a woman, when in actuality, he needs a good plug up the butthole. He is what I would call a curious sampler. Now, for those of you who don't know, I coined a term many years ago called curious sampler. A curious sampler is a man or woman who engages in a sexual relationship with a person of a different race for the sole purpose of experimental sex. These types of people normally do this to fulfill a fetish and have no intention of being in a long-term relationship with their victims. The sex is purely to satisfy a curiosity. Curious samplers are fetishists and offer nothing of value to their victims. They also have narcissistic tendencies. Take a look at this.
Sometimes people ask me, hey Daniel, how come you've never dated a black woman before? What do you think about black women? Do you feel attracted to black women? And I wanted to make today's video to talk about that thing. I've never had a physical relationship with a black woman or a black person. I've never had a romantic relationship with a black woman before. I had a friend who was black once. That was the only black person I ever knew. I just don't really have much interaction with black people in the first place, so that might be one of the reasons why I've never dated a black woman before. I used to have this black friend called Joseph. I met him at the guest house as well. He was really nice. He was from Britain. And yeah, so I had a black friend, so I don't think you can call me racist. The only time I've ever met a black woman was maybe a few years ago in Japan in a guest house. And I never spoke to her. She never spoke to me. But she did used to stare at me a lot. I remember sitting in the living room, and every time I looked up, she would be sitting there in front of me, staring at me. And then when I looked up, she would quickly look away. That was a bit strange. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that black women are unattractive or they're ugly. I'm just saying that I've never actually met a black woman who I felt incredibly attracted to. They do have very nice big round bums, which I find very attractive. If I was single again, then would I like to have intercourse? Would I like to try intercourse with a black woman? Yeah, why not? I'm always up for trying new things, and I do kind of regret that I never got the chance to try it when I could have tried it. If I had the opportunity to try it out and it was no strings attached, you know, just like a 1 or 2 time thing, would I be interested in taking that opportunity? I would say the answer would be leaning towards yes. I think that one of the main reasons why I don't feel amazingly attracted to black women is just because I don't identify myself as a black person. I don't see myself as a black person. And when it comes to looking for a woman, I kind of want a woman who looks a bit like me. For example, you wouldn't have a tiger feeling attracted to a lion because they look completely different. What I'm trying to say is my ideal woman would basically just be a clone of myself, a female clone of myself, and instead of having a penis, it will have a vagina.
So, ladies, obviously, we know that not all white men or Asian men behave that way or have that mindset, but we still have to vet everybody. It's really a shame that people like that exist, because if that's the quality of sperm that leads to the creation of something like that, meaning those types of men, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that it was a waste of 9 months for those poor women who had to carry them. As for Come Over Bob, his mother should have swallowed him. People like him must never reproduce because his offspring would just be as retarded as he is. It's important to protect your energy, ladies. If you do choose to date anyone at all, especially as a divester, the last thing that you want is to get into a relationship with a male who possesses the same mindset as the groups of men you've divested from. This is where self-love, vigilance, and extreme vetting comes in. There are men of other races who fetishize us. That's a fact. They want to hit it and quit it simply because of what they've heard about black women through the grapevine. If a man of a different race is dating you and is too hesitant to introduce you to his friends or family, that's a red flag. If he's always making excuses and prolonging the process, that's a red flag. If he insists on having Netflix and chill and never goes anywhere publicly with you, that's a red flag. If all your meetings don't include other people, that's a red flag. If you've been together for a while and you don't know where he lives, that's a red flag. If he's never invited you to his place, that's a red flag. If he doesn't publicly claim you, but claims that you're in a relationship only when you're together, that's a red flag. If he's always calling you at odd hours for sex and nothing else, that's a red flag. Please be careful out there. Always put yourselves first and don't accept less than you deserve. As divestors and women who interracially date, we have to be mindful of the fact that there are men of other races who are curious samplers. It is possible to find yourself in a relationship with someone who is bigoted, a racist. There are people who will like you as individuals, right? They will like you as an individual. but hate the race of people that you come from. That's problematic. You don't want to be in a situation where someone who says bigoted things about your race of people, but turns around and says, well, not you though, you're different. That's not a compliment. That's an insult. And that's a red flag. Now, he doesn't have to like the crime-ridden hoods filled with out-of-control black males, but he does have to respect you. We don't like those places either. They are unsafe for black women and children. However, him carrying a hatred for black people in general, knowing that you're a black woman, is problematic. People like Comb Over Bob over here will date a black woman as long as she does what he wants her to do. He's also the type more likely to use the N-word in a fit of rage. He's also the type who will tell you about yourself in a demeaning fashion and proceed to call people who look like you ghetto because he pedestalizes himself and probably feels that the color of his skin makes him superior to you. He would also expect you to be grateful for simply being in a relationship with him because he doesn't think that you can do better than him. You've heard what he said about black women who wish to date white men. How is this man different from lazy, abusive black males who expect black women to be on the front line fighting for their causes? He wants you to do exactly what they do, which is use black women as shields, taking rubber bullets once they become a hashtag. This shows a lack of care and respect for your humanity. He wants you to fight white women on his behalf because he thinks that their views are too feminist. Do you know another group of men who use feminism as an excuse for being the inadequate men that they are? He is allegedly looking for a feminine woman. Meanwhile, he's out here advising black women to take on masculine energy to fight other women so he could feel like a man. Does that make any sense? Because goodness knows, he can't be a man without the affirmation of women. Please, ladies, as you continue to expand your options, do your due diligence and protect yourselves and your energy by vetting. Emotional vampires come in all races, and you've just watched one. The one thing that true divestors don't do is fetishize or coddle men of other races simply for their position in society or color of their skin. Some of us are in tune with who we are and aren't willing to sacrifice our integrity for this level of foolishness.
Yesterday, I said that worldwide there are more men than women. This is true, but while China has 37 million more men than women, the United States has 4 million more women than men. And yet, every time we hear about some loser incel hurting women because he can't get laid, it's a white male, not a Chinese man. Hey, Western men, it's absolutely your fault you can't get a girlfriend. Turn off the video game, move out of your mom's basement, take a shower, brush your teeth, and for the love of fuck, stop watching so much porn. Porn gives you a distorted view of women, who they are, what they want, and what they like. Porn is like dessert. It's a treat, not a meal. And this message has been your broccoli. Choke on it.
On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, watch out for wolves in sheep's clothing. Stay away from curious samplers and continue to positively divest. Thank you so much for watching. This is Divested Diamonds, and I'll see you next time. Bye, Diamonds!